made it clear to the Taliban, if they attack our personnel, but if Afghanistan is unable to mount any real resistance to the Taliban now, there is no chance that 1 year, 1 more year, 5 more years, or 20 more years of U.S. military boots on the ground would have made any difference.
However, in the 20 years of war, the Afghan government was not always to blame. Here are the mistakes made by the United States. The United States invaded Afghanistan to capture the 9/11 attack mastermind, Osama bin Laden, and stamp out the Taliban who had sheltered him. But it hesitated to commit enough troops to carry out its mission. It also refused to accept NATO's help, which was graciously offered. Just after months into the mission, the US lost the Battle of Tora Bora, where bin Laden was hiding in caves.
Where Osama bin Laden?
We didn't reach yet.
Do you know where he is?
If I know, I will go, I will catch him.
Osama bin Laden eluded the mighty US forces for nearly 8 years after Tora Bora. If only the US had enough military support, the war may have ended the year it began. In December 2001, the Taliban had largely been pushed to the sides.
Negotiation and dialogue was on between Taliban, the authority of Taliban, and the Hamid Karzai delegation.
The Taliban leaders offered to negotiate power sharing back then, in a sort of role reversal from the recent times.
As for Mullah Omar, the president has made it plain that those who harbor terrorists need to be brought to justice. That statement directly applies to Mullah Omar.
But the US blew it off. Perhaps if the two sides had taken into consideration the Taliban's proposal, there might have been less violence and more chances of stability. But by 2003, Hamid Karzai's interim government and the Pentagon had announced victory against the Taliban in Afghanistan. Then, the US went off to war in Iraq, shifting resources from Afghanistan. But the Taliban was far from eradicated, having found sanctuaries in neighboring Pakistan and regrouping. The Afghan constitution of 2004 was in many ways ill-framed. One, it ignored traditional practice of Afghan autonomy, and two, it consolidated power with the president. Corruption ran rampant in the US-backed government and made it dependent on foreign aid. Between 2006 and 2009, the Taliban launched aggressive offensives, capturing major territories, making the US increase its troop size. But the war fatigue had set in, and Barack Obama gave a deadline of 18 months. For the Taliban, this deadline meant that all they had to do was wait till the foreign troops downsized or retreated. Just like the present scenario in which the Taliban was told that the foreign forces would start leaving by May. If the deadline was not announced, the Taliban may have given up their quest in the face of a strong US offensive. Then in 2011, the US finally doubled down on Osama bin Laden. Next year, Barack Obama announced the beginning of the end of the war. The beginning of the end of the war followed one more decade, which included fledgling cooperation between allies.
Well, obviously an incident like this morning has a negative effect on the trust side.
Is to keep us in conflict in which they were trying to do their own things. Whatever those things are, well, you ask them. We see it as rivalry with global powers.
And Pakistan supporting the Taliban. Taliban was never gone, nor were their terrorist allies. A Washington Post report stated that US officials had conceded long ago that the war in Afghanistan was unwinnable. The deep-seated corruption in the Afghan government came at a cost. Ill-armed, underpaid Afghan soldiers were asked to face the Taliban. While some fought bravely to their death, others simply chose to give up without a fight.
Today, the terrorist threat has metastasized well beyond Afghanistan. Al-Shabaab in Somalia, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, al-Nusra in Syria, ISIS attempting to create a caliphate in Syria and Iraq.
But once again, Joe Biden forgets that Afghanistan is a major terror hub in making, if it is not one already.